So hello, my name is Bill Simpson. This is one of a series of lectures for my philosophy students at Metropolitan State University of Denver. It's Thursday, March 26th, 2020. I'm at my cabin in Russell Gulch, Colorado. So what I want to talk about today is Plato and Aristotle on predication. And I want to look at two questions. First of all, what philosophical difficulties follow when we conceive of universals as substantive predicates? And then secondly, how does Aristotle address these difficulties? So let's remember back to Plato's middle period theory of forms. So first of all, a form is a one over many. That is to say, it's a universal. And a particular thing is of a type by participating in the form. So for example, Bernie Sanders participates in the form of human being. Secondly, forms are more real than sense particulars. Sense particulars, like my cup of coffee, come to be and pass away. But forms, like triangularity, are always actual. Triangularity is always present, triangularity is always certain, triangularity is changeless, therefore triangularity is universal and eternal. Now, forms are prior to sense particulars in the order of knowledge, in the order of time, in the order of reality, in the order of goodness, and in the order of dignity. So prior in Latin is ante, and sense particular is rem. And so when we talk about Platonic forms going forward, we'll talk about ante rem universals. Universals that are prior to sense particulars. We also found out that forms for Plato are the basis of good definitions. And so what Plato wants is he wants a one over many term defined by a genus and a difference. So we might say a human being, the subject term, is a featherless biped. And so the human being partakes of the forms of featherless and biped. And finally, forms are substances, that is to say beings, that occupy the predicate term of a subject-predicate statement. So the forms are substantive predicates. And there are a number of difficulties that befall us once we start talking about ante rem universals as substantive predicates. First of all, we have a problem with non-material causation. Or more generally, how does this business of participation work anyway? So think, for example, back to your cartoon watching days and all the trouble that Casper the Friendly Ghost had with doorknobs. He's a non-material entity trying to have a physical effect. And Plato is cognizant of this. And in the Timaeus, he invents a solution, or he postulates a solution called the demiurgos, or the demiurge. And the demiurge is literally some guy who goes up into Platonic heaven, grabs the forms, and stamps them out onto sense particulars. It's an ad hoc explanation, and it has all the advantages of what Bertrand Russell called the method of postulation. And Bertrand Russell said, well, the method of postulation had many advantages, namely the same ones that theft has over honest toil. And there's another problem as well. This is the famous Third Man Regress that Plato himself entertains at Parmenides 132a and following. So let's take a look at how the Mary Louise Gill translation of the Parmenides goes. Okay, this is 132a and following. Old Parmenides asks young Socrates the following question. What do you think about this? What's that? Well, whenever some many things seem to you to be large, perhaps there seems to be some one character the same, as you look over them all, and from that you conclude that the large is one thing. That's true, said young Socrates. What about the large itself, then, and the other large things? If you look at them all in the same way with the mind's eye, then won't some one thing appear large by which all these appear large? It seems so. And so another form of largeness will make its appearance, which has emerged alongside of largeness itself and all the things that partake of it, and in turn another over all these by which all of them will be large. And so no longer will each of your forms be one, but unlimited in multitude. So what's Plato up to? I think this. He says, let's start with a sense particular, a pipe. Now what makes the pipe pipish? Well, the form of pipe. It participates in the form of pipe. And what do the form of pipe and the pipe have in common? Some third thing, the third man, which ranges over pipeness and the particular pipe. And what does the pipe, the form of the pipe, pipeness prime, and pipeness double prime have in common? Well, pipeness triple prime, and on and on. And so we end up not with one single dispositive principle of knowledge, but an infinite regress, not only of purported answers, each more abstract than the last, but this is going to be an infinite regress of postulated beings. And it seems to me that Plato never managed to crack this problem. And so you see in his later writings, he moves away from talking about the forms.